The Mughal Empire.
The political situation in northwest India at the beginning of the 16th century was suitable for Babur's entry into India. There was no strong power to oppose him. Ibrahim Lodi was the Sultan of Punjab and Delhi, but had not much control over his dominions. His efforts to establish a large centralized empire alarmed the Afghan chiefs as well as the Rajputs. Daulat Khan Lodi, almost an independent ruler of Punjab, was anxious to strengthen his own position by weakening Ibrahim Lodi. To achieve his purpose, he invited Babur, the king of Kabul, to invade India. Babur had long been anxious to conquer India. He felt that time was ripe for his conquest of the whole of Punjab. Foundation of Mughal Empire.
Lineage of Mughals. Mughals were the descendants of Genghis Khan from their mother's side, and from their father's side they were the successors of Timur. Genghis Khan was the Mongol ruler who ruled over the parts of China and Central Asia, and Timur was the ruler of Iran, Iraq, and modern day Turkey. Mughals were proud of their Timurid ancestry and disliked to be known as Mongols because Genghis Khan's memory associated with ruthless massacre.
First Battle of Panipat, 1526 AD. An invitation from Daulat Khan Lodi to invade India gave Babur a chance for a new start. A battle was fought at Panipat by Babur against Ibrahim Lodi, where Babur emerged victorious. He occupied Delhi and Agra and laid the foundation of the Mughal Empire in India with Agra as its capital. Babur and his successors. Babur 1526 to 1530. Humayun 1530 to 1556. Akbar 1556 to 1605. Jahangir 1605 to 1627. Shah Jahan 1628 to 1658. Aurangzeb 1658 to 1707. Babur 1526 to 1530. Babur was a descendant of Timur and Genghis Khan. His father Umar Sheikh Mirza ruled over Fargana, Uzbekistan. Babur captured
Samarkand.
a merchant town and added it to Fargana in 1497. But he lost both in 1501. Later, in 1504, he captured Kabul but lost it again. In 1530 AD, Babur's son Nasiruddin Muhammad Humayun inherited the throne. However, he lost his kingdom to Sher Shah, an Afghan chief of Bihar, who defeated him at the Battle of Chausa 1539 AD and Kannauj 1540 AD. In 1555 AD, after the death of Sher Shah, Humayun managed to recapture Delhi and Agra and re-established the Mughal rule in India. From the time Humayun succeeded his father in 1530, he had to face difficulties. He was not as capable as his father and lacked determination and will. Humayun led a campaign against Bahadur Shah, the ruler of Gujarat, who was trying to occupy Malwa, Gujarat and Rajasthan.
He defeated Bahadur Shah and took control of Malwa and Gujarat. Land revenue system during Sher Shah Suri.
Sher Shah Suri was the first king of Sur Empire. His original name was Farid Khan. He got the title Sher after killing a tiger. There were a series of conflicts between Humayun and Sher Shah Suri. He defeated Humayun twice in the Battle of Chausa and Bilgram. Sher Shah was on the throne for only 5 years, 1540 to 1545, but in this short period he introduced a sound administration. As part of the land revenue system, Sher Shah ordered an accurate survey of all lands. Land revenue was fixed at one-third of the produce. Revenue could be paid in cash or kind. Network of roads, including the famous Grand Trunk Road, were built to ensure easy and safe passage of people, goods and troops.
Akbar the Great. Akbar was proclaimed the emperor at the age of 14. Following Humayun's death, Behram Khan was appointed regent to the young monarch. He guided Akbar at each step and prepared him for his imperial responsibilities. After becoming the emperor, he faced many difficulties. The battle between the Mughals and Afghans, led by Hemu, took place at the historic battlefield of Panipat in 1556 CE. This was known as the Second Battle of Panipat, where Akbar defeated Hemu and killed him. Thus, Mughals were again successful in reoccupying Delhi and Agra. Akbar took great interest in Indian culture.
Religious policy. Akbar took important measures to establish social unity in his empire.
He abolished the jizya, religious tax imposed on non-Muslims.
He propagated the idea of universal peace called.
Sulekul.
He stressed the idea of tolerance. He removed all religious taxes imposed on non-Muslims, thereby ending all social differences. He arranged and encouraged intermarriages and interdining between the Hindus and the Muslims. No discrimination was made on the basis of religion with regard to appointments and admissions to various institutions. Akbar himself celebrated Diwali and Dussehra and tried to stop many social evils in the society. He appointed many Hindus to high offices on merit. Such measures adopted by him helped in promoting social unity during his reign. At Fatehpur Sikri, he built a hall of prayer called Ibadat Khana. Here, he welcomed scholars of all religions and held religious discussions. Akbar started a new religion called
Din-e-Ilahi.
It contained the good points of all religions and stressed that there was only one God.
Akbar's administration. Ain-e-Akbari,
Written by Abul Fazl, is the main source of information about Akbar's administration. The emperor was the head of the administration and his word was law. He was assisted by a number of officials including the Wazir or Diwan, head of revenue, Mir Bakshi, head of military, Qazi, chief judge and Sardar, superior of the royal household. The appointment, promotion and dismissal of officials was in the hands of the king. The empire was divided into 15 subas or provinces and each suba was under a subedar. He was in charge of both military and civil matters.
Diwan,
Was given the responsibility for collecting the land revenue. Each suba was subdivided into sarkars or districts. The sarkars were divided into parganas. These were managed by a team of officials. The pargana was made up of a number of villages. The administrative work of village was carried out by the village panchayat. Features of the revenue system. Land revenue. The main source of revenue was land. Raja
Todarmal.
was in charge of the revenue administration.
The land reforms were known as Todarmal's Bandobast.
The land revenue was taken on the basis of the fertility of the land. Each province was divided into revenue circles with different revenue rates for different crops. This system was called Zabt. The annual payment was taken from the cultivators or ryots.
The state's share was 1/3 of the average produce of the land, which could be paid in cash or in kind.
Trade. Trade was also the main source of revenue. Internal and external trade had been carried out with the conquest of several kingdoms in the north, west, east, and south India. Features of military administration. The military administration of Akbar was based on the Mansabdari system. Mansab meant a rank, and a Mansabdar was the holder of the rank. Akbar's Mansabdari system.
A. The Mughal Mansabdar were known by the number of their Zat and Sawar. Zat indicated their rank, and Sawar determined the number of horses and horsemen a Mansabdar could keep.
B. The emperor looked after the appointment, promotion and dismissal of Mansabdars. C. Salaries were paid according to the rank in the form of jagirs. These were the land grants given to the Mansabdars to manage their daily expenses. D. A Mansab or rank was not hereditary. After the death of a Mansabdar, his jagir got reverted to the king, who granted it to someone else. Branding of horses and maintenance of descriptive role of the soldiers was continued by Akbar. A standing army was maintained. The cavalry was the most important branch. There was also an organized artillery. The troops were supplied by the Mansabdars. Jahangir, 1605 AD to 1627 AD. Akbar was succeeded by his son Jahangir, popularly known as Salim. Jahangir followed Akbar's policies. He too adopted the policy of religious tolerance and developed marriage alliances with the Rajput chiefs and gave grants of high offices. Jahangir's reign saw the advent of the European trade into India. Jahangir granted trading rights to the Portuguese and later to the English. In 1608 AD, Captain William Hawkins, who represented the East India Company, came to Jahangir's court. Thomas Roe, an envoy of the King of England, visited Jahangir's court in 1615 AD. A significant aspect of Jahangir's reign was the powerful role played by his wife Noor Jahan. Noor Jahan set new fashions based on Persian culture. She added grace and charm to the Mughal court. She was the most beloved wife of Jahangir, and he even put her name on coins along with his own.
Mughal architecture. Shah Jahan ascended the throne in 1628.
His reign can also be termed as the golden age of Mughal Empire. Shah Jahan built the Taj Mahal at Agra, the Red Fort and Jama Masjid in Delhi. The Taj Mahal is one of the 7 wonders of the world. Music and painting made great progress under him.
Peacock throne, the famous jeweled throne called Takhti Tawus, was one of the most magnificent artifacts the world has ever known.
Shah Jahan had it built to display glory and splendor of the wealthy Mughal Empire. Shah Jahan built Moti Masjid at Agra for the members of the royal court. Aurangzeb's Deccan policy. Aurangzeb was the last Mughal emperor who tried to fulfill his wish of bringing the entire subcontinent under him. His empire extended from Kashmir in the north to the Kaveri in the south, from Kabul in the west to Chiltak in the east. For 25 years, he stayed in the Deccan to suppress the Marathas. This brought about lawlessness, financial setbacks, and flaws in the administrative systems.
Popular revolts against Aurangzeb. While the Jat revolt was a peasant uprising, the Rajputs revolted because Aurangzeb interfered in the court affairs of Mewar, a Rajput state. The greatest loss was that Aurangzeb lost the support of the loyal Rajputs.
The execution of the Sikh Guru Tegh Bahadur angered the Sikhs and led to the revolt. Now, the Sikhs under Guru Gobind Singh formed a military brotherhood called the Khalsa and waged a continuous struggle against the Mughals. Revolts by the Jats and Rajputs also disturbed the
empire.
While the Jat revolt was peasant uprising, the Rajputs revolted because Aurangzeb interfered in the court affairs of the Mewar, a Rajput state. The greatest loss was the Aurangzeb lost the support of the loyal Rajputs. Aurangzeb also made serious political blunders when he underestimated the power of the Maratha chief Shivaji and to imprisoned him. After Shivaji's death, he tried to crush the Marathas, but the Marathas managed to harass the Mughals by adopting the guerrilla warfare.
The decline of the Mughal Empire.
The reasons for the collapse of the Mughal Empire can be summed up as under. Wars of succession. The Mughals did not follow any law of succession. Each time a ruler died, a war of succession between the brothers began. This weakened the Mughal Empire, especially after Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb's policies. Aurangzeb failed to realize that the vast Mughal Empire depended on the willing support of the people.
He lost the support of the Rajputs, who had contributed greatly to the strength of the empire.
Aurangzeb's policy turned Sikhs, Marathas, Jats, and others into bitter foes of the Mughals. Weak successors of Aurangzeb. The successors of Aurangzeb were weak and incompetent. They were inefficient generals and incapable of suppressing revolts. Empty treasury.
Shah Jahan's zeal for construction had depleted the treasury.
Aurangzeb's long wars in the south had further drained the exchequer. Invasions. The invasions of Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali resulted in further drainage of wealth. These invasions shook the very foundations of the empire. Vastness of the
Empire.
The Mughal Empire had become too large to be controlled by any ruler. The early Mughals were efficient and exercised control over ministers and army, but the later Mughals were poor administrators. As a result, the distant provinces became independent.
The rise of independent states further led to the disintegration of the Mughal Empire.